rise up, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, kings and queens, friends, frenemies, and your agents. My name is Brother Marley, and this is the Senegambia One channel. I'm here in Senegambia at a beach restaurant, so it looks like a bit of a shack behind me. That's because it is. All right, nothing more to that story, nothing more than this. I wanted to talk to you a bit about a previous video we did. So we spoke a bit about the geopolitics that's happening over here in West Africa, especially in the Sahel states, and how the US was over there in Niger and refusing to leave. You see, I'll give you a little bit of context to the background of this conversation we're having right now, just so you know what I'm talking about, right? So, the USA say that they need to combat Islamic extremism in Africa. It's very important because these terrorists are wild over here in the Sahel states of West Africa, and they've got to deal with that for their own national security. That's what they got to do. Okay, so they bring 1 million. No lie, sorry. They bring 100,000. I'll bring 100,000. They bring 100,000. This is gonna end it so well. So they bring 100,000 of their troops into Niger, and they spend a good 10 million on a military base over there. If I've got those numbers wrong, which I kind of think I do, I'll correct it up here in the edit. Don't even watch that. The point of the matter is, they sent a lot of personnel over to West Africa, and they sent a lot of money over to West Africa in order to find these elusive terrorists. Okay? They can't find the terrorists, they don't know where they are. But what they have decided is that they need to now make another military base closer to the terrorists. So I'm like, do you know where they are, don't you? But anyway, they move over to where they think the terrorists are and build a second military base with another 10 million or whatever. These numbers are minuscule. I'm sure these are not the right numbers. They're so small in comparison to their military spending budget. They spend this much out here on military bases, right? So Nigeria says, you know what? Thank you so much for the military bases and all your help in trying to find these ever elusive terrorists. But while you were looking for the terrorists, we've had a whole military coup, and the people who you're supposed to be stopping from doing this are now in power. So you're clearly pointless at what you're doing. You're clearly useless. And we'd like you to leave. So with all the military might, hardware, personnel, so on and so forth, helicopters, planes, all the stuff they've got, all the drones they have over there, they didn't foresee a military coup happening in Nigeria with a set of brothers who were so organized in their works that they were able actually to take over the country and actually open up a whole parliament, a whole senate if it's a presidential, if it's democracy. They'll have to set that all up, get that all going. And the American military had no idea. What happened under their nose, they didn't know. Okay, so then they decide, you know what, thanks very much for your non-help. We'll take it from here. Thank you, France, you go. Thank you, America, you go. So France, they go, all right? And the French president is lambasted because the way they're seeing this playing out is that actually other African nations are going to see how easy it was for them to be kicked out of their position of power locally. Other African nations are going to do the same thing. And of course, Mali does the same thing. Burkina Faso does the same thing. Senegal is talking about doing the same thing. They haven't done it just yet, but they're considering it. I think they will soon. So that's all happened. The Americans didn't want to leave though. But you know what's happened? The Americans have now left Niger. They've already started sending out their troops. They've already had a goodbye. I won't say leaving party. It wasn't a leaving party. It was just like 50 soldiers sitting on chairs looking depressed while a plane left. And that was their process of leaving the country. That's what's happened over there in Niger. Meanwhile, as we're all well aware, in America, there has been a real right-wing renaissance. Try to say that quickly. A right-wing renaissance over there in America. So the left-leaning liberals have been running the ship for a long time over in America. And even though they've had a conservative party in the UK, it's been a very left-leaning conservative party. It's been as left as possible of right? It's been very centrist. In France, it's been the same under Emmanuel Macron. Now, last time France went to the polls, it was Marine Le Pen who came along, and she was like, no, what we need to do is we need to be hard right, and we need to, that's left, hard right. We need to get rid of all these immigrants, all these brown-faced people, get rid of all of those French first. And she just lost. She wasn't that far off losing. She came second. So everyone was in France was kind of like looking forward to this year where they go back to the polls because they're expecting for her to win. She didn't win. She crushed those leftists. She crushed them. Now, Netherlands have their elections. And last time, Geert Wilders. Now, if you see Geert Wilders looks like a pound, not a pound, Dollar Tree. You're American. Okay. So Poundland / Dollar Tree version of Donald Trump. If you see what Geert Wilders looks like. Actually, I'll put a picture up in the person. This is Geert Wilders. So now, he's also come up in Netherlands as a winner. They've gone extreme right too. This is interesting. Greece has gone far right from a long time ago. They were there doing the Nazi salutes years ago. Italy has had a national front government for years. And now America has also gone, is also pushing for a right-wing government. So it's interesting to see what's happening over there. I mean, what's that going to mean for people who are living in those countries? What's that going to mean for black people living in America? What's that going to mean for black people living in France and Germany and these other countries? If you've got National Front or even National Front leaning or even alt-right leaning governments running that country, what is that going to mean for the people living there? Well, if you are immigrant, i.e. you've just rocked up, waving your Joe Biden flag, trust and believe you'll be gone very soon, right? You're out of there. It's over. ICE will be knocking on your door very soon. ICE Germany, ICE Netherlands, ICE France, ICE England, they're all coming. They're all coming to put you on a boat and send you off. What's it going to mean for the rest of us? What's it going to mean for those black people who have citizenship in the United States, in Brutland? What's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to those of us who are over here in Africa? So here's what I see, right? Here's what I see. I think that for those of you who are staying over there in the West, no one's going to touch you as far as from the government. No one's going to be saying you've got to leave or anything like that. I don't believe that's going to happen. But what I will say is that the kind of rhetoric, the kind of mindset that the government is going to be putting over there in the grand scheme of things is going to have an impact on how the media talks about us, how social media talks about us, and thus how the man on the street talks about us and talks to us, how the police treat us. I foresee there being a kind of government that is similar to how they were running things in South Africa back in the day, like an apartheid state, where they keep everyone separate, where they keep you as a second-class citizen. People in England are second-class citizens. We're already there, but there's enough people around that are left-leaning enough to be able to say, I'm not going to allow for the prejudice of others to dictate whether I'm going to work with or work for or have work for me, this black person. There's that. And secondly, that's going to repeat itself and replicate itself over in Europe. And it's going to happen in England as well. That's what I foresee happening. Over here in Africa, I know that Eric Prince has spoken about the need to recolonize Africa. An American man saying that we need to recolonize Africa. So he's speaking not for America, because America hasn't colonized. It was part of that first colonization where the Europeans took part in. He was speaking globally. He made up some cock and bull story about, yeah, well, these Africans, they don't know how to manage themselves, they don't know how to govern themselves. All they do is rape and pillage. Hold up. Rape and pillaging, that's a European thing. That's what the Saxons were, that's what the Vikings were doing to Anglo-Saxons. That's what the Saxons were doing to the Normans. So, that's what the English are doing to the French, and the French come back and do it to the English. Rape and pillage. That's a European thing. That's not something that happens over in Africa. But he's trying to use that story to push a need for America to come in and colonize, and how European partner in crime in this whole thing to bring people over to Africa in order to colonize. But what I foresee is that under that whole ban of America first, Netherlands first, France first, and particularly Brexit, people believe that they don't need anyone outside their country to be great. They can do it all themselves. England were so sure that actually they don't need Europe to be great. They're like, we're great England. No, you're little England. But they believe they're so wonderful that they can do things without the help of Europe. And their money, their GDP has been on the floor ever since. So that's what I'm foreseeing for the future. All I can say is that all we can do is to come together. All right. I don't care whether you are Canadian, American, French. All these kind of little nationalities that they bestow upon us. Like, we need to come together. People in West Africa and the rest of the continent, we can make we can provide so much raw materials in order for you to do a business over there in the States, in Canada, in England. We need to work together to do those things. Rather than looking for what divides us, we need to be looking for what unites us. Because I'm seeing that these other folks, they're all united too. I hope this all makes sense to you. This is your brother Mali from the Senegambia One channel. Until next time.